Hello, hello. Hopefully this is working. And I'm just checking my connection here. Because yesterday I tried to go live and I had a bit of trouble. But I hope everything's working now. So, yeah, how's everybody doing? Yeah, I'm back here in the studio today and I'm just going to be painting a little kind of a forest scene that caught my eye when my partner and I were hiking, I think maybe 3 weeks ago. So we were over in Dundas Valley Conservation Area hiking, and we saw this. I saw this really cool slope that I decided, that would make a nice painting one day. So yeah, so today I thought that's a good little reference. I think I'll just do like a little sketch of it here in acrylic. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. And hopefully my Facebook Live broadcast is working. I don't know if they changed it, the settings or something, because yesterday I tried it and it didn't go live, but it recorded, so I was able to upload it over on my YouTube channel. So this way, if it works today, I won't have to do that. I'm just working with a primary palette again of yellow, red, and blue. So that's the colors I have of acrylic paint. So that's what I'm going to work in. And I'll see how it goes. Yesterday it was a pretty good session. I'm not used to working in this palette, this color palette. I'm used to working with a lot more earth tones when I paint in oils. So this primary color palette's a little bit of a challenge for me, I'd say, just because I'm not used to mixing these colors. All the colors are in the wrong spot on my palette, so that's one of the issues I'm running into. The other one is like trying to get these subtle tones and whatnot, so that I see using just 3 colors. So we'll see how it goes. So with the reference here, I see that there's a couple of 2 major tones. There's like this, there's the obvious one, the green, which I think I'm just going to wash that in right now, right off the bat, and just mix up a general wash to see what happens here. So I'm just going to go scrub that in. See how that goes. It looks pretty bright on screen. I can never tell what the saturation is here. Like, this looks really yellow on my monitor, so it's a little bit more pale on my end here. I'm just looking for the major shapes here, big kind of areas where simplify. I'm using a great big flat today, flat brush to start. Put some blue in here. Okay. And then the other tone that I see in this reference is basically two tones. I see green and this brown color. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to work back to front. So the sky is the most furthest away from me, and let's use this brush here. The next color I'm going to mix is some green that I see here. Just going to look for major shapes. Yeah, I'm still getting used to working in acrylic. It's been, like I was saying yesterday, it's been like years, probably years since I've painted in acrylic. So it's kind of interesting, and it's a little uncomfortable. But I think that it's good for me to like get out of my comfort zone and try something like this, like a new medium, like acrylic, where I'm not used to it, right? So I think it's good to do that once in a while, to get yourself out of these comfort zones. I'm just trying to block in the just these big shapes that I see going on, and trying not to look at them as trees or as, you know, leaves and things like that. I'm just trying to look at things as shapes, and so yeah, it looks like a big mess right now, but that's okay. That's how everything starts. Let's see, maybe I'll use this big 1-inch flat brush, and I'm going to try and mix up like a brown tone. Mix the ultramarine blue and got some red and yellow. And I'll mix it all together and see what I get. Looks a little purple, so I'm going to add more yellow. A little bit of white, just to take that down a bit. Okay, now the trunk I see is way over here. The edge of it, that's a sharp line. Looks a little dark. I'll have to add a bit of white. Scrub in some of this tone. thanks for tuning in if you're tuned in. Happy Friday. TGIF. Just looking at the slope here, trying to get my overall lines in. Yeah, I saw the slope there and I was like, oh, cool, that looks so awesome. Like the lines, this really cool, like, just this really, I don't know how to explain it, these fluid kind of motion of the land. And I almost walked past it and I went, oh, that looks awesome. It caught in the corner of my eye and I decided to snap a picture for later. I gotta make sure now at this point, this is usually when I fall into a trap of looking at details. So I have to make sure at this point not to do that. Something I need to recognize and kind of fix as I go along. Because if I go into the details right now, then what ends up happening is I'll just start painting away and an hour could go by or whatever and I'll snap out of it and look at the painting and go, what the heck have I been painting for the last hour? That doesn't look right. And I've missed something or, something that could have been fixed really early on. So I'm also just trying to use all the dark kind of tones at the starting here too. Let's see here, there's a tree. It's going to be a bit more yellow in there, I think. That center, there's a center tree in here, somewhere about here. It's not dead center, it's like slightly off to the one side. I think like that, and it's tilted back. Then there's another one. I'm going to mix up a dark tone of almost black, which is hard to get with this palette. A little blue in there. I quickly switched to this round brush to get these trunks in. Just something there to, like a placeholder. Okay. Now we have color. It's like a neutral gray coming up. I'll add a bit of white. And right about here, it breaks away from the up and out. I try and do them in one motion, the limbs, instead of painting them like, choppy or in sections, because I'm trying to replicate that fluidness that I'm seeing in the branch. a little thicker as well down here, but it's lighter. Anyways, I don't want to get too bogged down here right off the bat. Looks good. I'm going to have to add some more foliage for sure. And there's a lot of like yellow reflected light on the trunk, on this big trunk right in here. Okay, looks good so far. I think there was a squirrel on my roof here in the studio. I heard them dropping walnuts. I have like a little studio here, and it's like October, and all the squirrels are going hunting for their walnuts for the winter. And I hear them sometimes rolling nuts around. Yesterday I was in here and it was like the loudest crash I heard. And it was a squirrel. It dropped like a walnut right on the roof. It scared the heck out of me. Okay, I might switch back to the big brush so I don't start to nitpick. Just going to take a look at it from a distance here and see what we need. Some nice green. I'm just going to wash in a few tones. Try not to think. Try not to think. And right now the paper is pretty saturated with wet paint and water here. So I don't want to load it up too much more with water. I'm going to start to maybe switch to a thicker application of the paint. There's a tree right here that looks pretty cool. I think it's got a bit more blue in it, yeah. Maybe it goes like this. And there's branches in the bottom here. There's shadows. Comes up. Yeah, if anybody has like any questions about anything, be happy to answer them for you. Just leave the questions in the comments section. I haven't really figured out the whole chat while I paint scenario, so I think if you just leave them any questions in the comments, I'll be sure to get back to them to you as soon as I can. I think I need a bit more green up here, so what am I going to do? I got brown. This brush is now polluted, so I gotta wash it out. It's got white in it, and I don't want white in that green up high. I'm gonna make just another puddle here of green. There's a lot of green in this picture. Sometimes I hold the brush just like this, you know, or like this, or like this. There's all these different grips, and they all help to make things random, especially with things like foliage. Foliage is like really, I find it tricky. I really like drawing foliage, but painting it I find is a bit tricky for me because there's so many different ways you can do it, and you know, it's hard to pinpoint because it's so detailed. As something you're looking at, it's really hard to, for me anyways, to pinpoint like how do I paint that, you know. There's just so much going on that it's kind of tricky sometimes. Sometimes if you hold the brush differently, then it'll naturally, you know, give you some randomness there to kind of help out. So it's a little trick I think lots of artists do to help. So I've got a nice kind of a V shape here. I don't want to lose that. It comes down and over. I'm always trying to stop myself from getting too caught up into painting, and try to stop myself so that I actually look at what I've painted. Because you do a lot of squinting. I have a habit of squinting too much and like squinting the whole time I'm painting, which is something I'm trying to break that habit. So by squinting, like I don't see the painting like, you know, in real life, so to speak. It's like I'm seeing it blurred. So yeah, that's one thing I have to make sure that I'm doing, is not squinting the whole time. But at the starting I do a lot of squinting, so it's just something I have to watch for. Okay, so then we've got the ground comes down and back up like that. There's some really cool lines happening there. At this stage I like to try and figure out the flow of this piece, and you know, make sure all the lines are kind of fluid and connecting in the piece, so that when it starts to tighten up later on, it still has that nice fluid quality to it. So yeah. Okay, whoops. There we go. Trying to get like a dark shadow color here. Cool thing with acrylic that I forgot. Like I'm not, you know, you get painting with oils all the time. With acrylic, you can just wait like 10 or 15 minutes and it'll be dry, and you can just paint over anything that you want to paint over. So it's like, I forgot about that because I don't paint in acrylic usually. I haven't painted in a long time. using acrylics, so I forgot that. And then I'm like, oh wow, is that ever handy? Got some really wispy kind of branches and whatnot here. So yeah, like that's too dark, that branch I just put in, but that's fine with acrylic. I can just go over it. And you can do that with oils too, but with oil you gotta wait, usually, because you start to get too thick the more and more you paint over something, and the more muddy it gets. So yeah, I just kind of rediscovering the nice qualities of this medium as I'm painting these little studies. It's quite refreshing, kind of, to see. Yeah, for a long time I was like, kind of against acrylic, and because I thought, oh yeah, oil painting is superior in so many different, so many ways compared to acrylic. You've got like this, it doesn't dry as fast, which makes, it makes the experience of painting really nice when you want to render things. So you have like all the time in the world to play with it and render. And I really like the transparency of oils, the oily transparency, of the medium, and how it reflects light and refracts light. And it's so amazing for painting skin and portraits and, people. And so yeah, I really like painting in oil. And then, so yeah, I used to think that oil was, oh yeah, it's way better than acrylic. So I stopped painting in acrylic for a long time. And then I got painting in, I tried gouache, which is another water-based paint similar to acrylic. So yeah, I'm still getting to know that medium. It's interesting. Gouache is cool. For me, it's another tricky medium. Just because I've done so much oil painting, I'm not used to, painting in gouache and how it behaves. So that's part of the reason I'm doing this kind of painting, is to get out of those ruts of comfort where you're things are comfortable, and you know kind of the result that's going to happen ahead of time, and you know how everything behaves. You can control it. You can control the outcome of the painting and of the result, which is great, and it's comfortable, and it's nice to have that. But at the same time, I don't think you're going to, as an artist, I'm not going to grow the same if I don't experiment and get out of those comfort zones. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm going to try this, even though it's uncomfortable at first. I think it'll be good for me to learn, learn something new, or relearn a new medium that I've forgotten about for a while. See some purple tones in here, that's nice. That's too dark. I think I'm going to have to put some green down here in the bottom. Wrong brush. It's like a grass or something right in the back corner here. Oh Jesus, that scared the hell out of me. My stupid phone. Sorry about that. I've got my phone, the notification is like super loud and it's really quiet in here. Scared me. Okay, brown brush. There you are. Let's mix up some more brown. Brown's gone out of style. It used to be really trendy. Maybe it's back in style, I don't know. This is a reddish brown. Let's see here. It's too dark. What am I doing? There we go. So there's a lot of leaf debris and things like that here in the front. Sticks and things. The slope comes down. Just gonna put that shapes in there. That comes over like this. That's gonna have to go really bright there at the bottom. And here. It's not bad. Talk to myself here while I paint. There's some blue tones up here. So I'm just shifting this brown. I'm just kind of dry brushing this second stage of the painting here as I go through. And I'm just kind of squinting and looking at the reference, trying to figure out some of the major tones, the color tones that I see. I don't want to be painting this thing all green, 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 and because it wouldn't look natural or very pleasant, I don't think. There's a line here that comes down. That goes up to there. Sometimes I just color mix right on the canvas or the paper where instead of on the palette. That's always fun. Just gonna check my Facebook here and see. Yeah, still live. Awesome. Okay. I love painting trees. I've been drawing trees like for as long as I can remember. I think it's something really common that a lot of kids do. But yeah, like when I was young, that's all I used to do was draw trees. And like I liked comics when I was a kid quite a bit, so I used to love like all the superhero comics. But I was a big Conan the Barbarian fan, which is which is all like muscle bound kind of character. And I used to draw tons of comic characters all the time. But trees, they're interesting too because they do remind me of like arms and legs and things, the way they twist and whatnot. So it's funny the things that you're as a kid that you're kind of drawn to. It's interesting. I think it's a common thing. Like a lot of kids are into that, or at least they used to be. I'm not sure now what these kids are up to. So just looking at this here, looks like too yellow, way too much yellow, I think. So I'm gonna try and mix a bluish green, maybe, and kind of scatter it in here. Maybe I'll switch up my brush. First, I'm just going to get these tones. There's these major green tones in here. It's really windy today. It was supposed to be windy yesterday, and then it wasn't. But now, like, I hear lots of wind today. So who knows what's happening with the weather. I'm going to switch to round. Maybe put some highlights in. Ran out of blue. I'm always running out of blue. I guess in this picture there's a lot of blue. Put in a couple of sky holes here. That's almost white. And then it's yellow down here. Up here we've got Interesting shape. I believe I have this section here too thick. The green has to come down a bit more, but I'll get this. I want to get the subtle colors in here before I do that, because it's behind it. It's like this light that's back there, and it's once I put it in, I don't want to touch it too much. Because the more I play with it, the more fake it looks. Okay, where did the other guy go? I think way off in the distance there's like a field, if I remember. And this is like I think there's a tree line way back here. But it's blurred. It's blurry. Because the light back there is sunny and it's kind of shining. Light's lighting up that field. And come down. These transitions are, I think, where a lot of paintings are made, where they look really nice, is like the area, like the edging, where things kind of meet each other. There's a line here, but I don't want to just paint it in, because it's not actually a line. It's like where the branch is going to go along, and they form a natural kind of sight line there, but it's not actually a line. So. I'm just kind of shifting the greens back and forth here. I also think I have that. There's a branch. I have it too high. So we're going to have to move it down a little bit here after I clean this brush. constantly cleaning the brush out because it's got like white in it, too much white. Just mixing my primaries again together. And let's see, that has to go up. Actually comes down to there. That's a little better, I think. That one actually goes there. It's funny, you start painting and all of a sudden you see things. It's very reactionary painting. I find it's like you don't see certain things until much later. You're like creating your own, these situations that you're reacting against later on when you paint and draw. I find it specifically happens in painting. Okay. This stage is what I really dislike this stage. It's like everything just looks like a jumbled mess. So I'm trying to figure out right now what's working and what isn't working. And sometimes it's a bit tricky to figure it out. It's nice there. Put that in. I think like this section has to be a lot lighter. Because like under here, there's a shadow that comes up like this. But if everything is dark, I can't see it. So I'm going to have to increase that shadow, I think, a little bit. Or sorry, the light part. Okay, just going to do a brush wash. I think one of the important things that I have to keep in mind is like keeping my colors clean. So every once in a while I've got to either wash the brushes or clean up this palette because you don't want to end up picking up all this mud and making a big mess. There's a branch here that I really want to get in there. There we go. Fixing up some of the drawings here. I'm just going along and I'm like looking for areas, like points that I think need a little bit of more definition or tightening up, and just cleaning up some of the lines with like a bluish kind of shadow here, color. Just looking at angles and whatnot, trying to figure out if everything's going to flow. I want to make sure everything has a flow to it and makes sense, like all the marks, they lead the eye, so when you're looking at it, you know, the whole thing kind of works. And I'm just comparing that to what I'm seeing on the picture, the original reference. I'm starting to get used to this primary palette. taken me a couple of days now. I think this is the second or third acrylic painting I've done this week. Using only the primaries colors, so only 3 colors, and trying to mix with those. It's taken a bit of time. Okay, I think I'll switch gears and get into more that green color. I don't think I can't match what I see on my reference because this is so saturated. I don't know if I can reach it. I can get close. Let's see if I can get close. It's like a really greeny green, and when I add the ultramarine blue here, it's like a darker purpley blue, and it's not like a cobalt blue. So what it's doing when I add it, it's actually darkening and that green. So I can only go so vibrant with it, with the blue. But that's okay, because I think it'll be good anyways when in the long run. It's going to help unify the whole picture. And it's just a sketch anyways. And not too serious. It's not like a painting that I've been working on for a month. So it's just an exercise here, and see what happens. I'm just kind of dry brushing in some leaves, paying attention to the pattern they make as they flail out from the trunks. One of the tricks I like to do is like paint something dark, and then with acrylic, what you can do that's cool is wait till that dries then, and then go on top of that dark with a lighter value of the same color. So here I've got like dark green in here, and then what I'll do now that it's dry to make it very variated is come in with a mid-tone over that dark one and just pop in some color on top of that, and then not all the way on there, but have some of that dark area original paint show through. I think that's an interesting technique. It's almost like rim lighting, but with color, and it's one of those things that I kind of stumble on as I've been painting. Oh yeah, I had this I wanted to fix. There's a section here I gotta fix. Then there's some foliage down here on the ground. Got these areas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just kind of going around touching up what I can see. Just trying to figure out areas that need to be tighter or looser in the drawing. And just kind of going along and adjusting them. Connecting all the dots here. There's a bit of red in the back part of this here tree. The one thing that I'm still getting used to is on the palette, as I'm mixing it, like the colors are drying on my little acrylic palette here. And then I go to mix a new color, I can still see the old color on the palette. So it's like, it's kind of tricky for me to figure out when I'm actually mixing on the palette. Yeah, I see a lot of red tones under this big tree. Maybe I'll mix up a brownish red. Put that in there. Kind of a dappled light happening here. Very messy looking still. It's a little too light there. Here we go. There's some really neat kind of light happening on the trunks as you as the eye travels around in here. I think I'll just try and capture some of these. It's like these nice hits of color. It's like dappled. And up there is blue. Down here starts to transition. Hopefully I'm not blocking the camera. That's a little too light. It's already dry. Wow. And then it goes to yellow, which is what I have in here now. It's picking up some light reflected from the canopy. There we go. Now we're cooking. Starting to pull that section together a bit better. Looks like some moss. Excuse me. I'm still getting over, I had a head cold for almost 2 weeks now. Still trying to get over it. I tested negative, so it wasn't corona virus, but still getting rid of it. Nice branch there, and then this. That's too light, but it looks neat. Okay, let's see. Just doing a little wash. Kind of blending things up here so they're not so crazy, not so jarring to look at. Put on some more paint here. Yeah, at this point in the painting, I like to look at the edges of where things are touching other things, and either, unify them. So that's what I'm kind of doing here, is like taking all these little marks and details and just kind of grouping them again, because the more and more I paint, the more they separate, the more detail you put in. And it's like what I was saying in the beginning. When I started, it's like I have to make sure I see the big picture and stay with the detail, or not the details, but the big shapes. So at this point in the painting, I just kind of go around and reevaluate all the big shapes and make sure they all connect, and that they're kind of unified as I'm going through. And yeah. Because sometimes it takes, you start painting and you lose that unification of shapes, and I think that's where the strength in painting happens is these larger shapes and larger masses of color. So yeah, edge work, larger shapes. That's what I'm kind of looking at right now as I'm going around. Just looking at the edges here of that. Making sure there's no abrupt edges where there shouldn't be. Knock that back a little. And every once in a while I like to put these little hits of really bright color here and there to keep things interesting. I'd like to try some of that heavy body acrylic. I'm putting it in heavy now in the painting, but I think they sell stuff that now you can buy where it's like heavier, like it almost mimics like oil paint. So I thought that would be interesting to try some of that stuff. I'll have to get some colors one day. Yeah, the sky behind it is defining a lot of the mass of the leaf canopy here. I don't want to put in too many because then it becomes overwhelming, but there's these certain amount that you need to put in there to kind of help the overall look of it. Put some blue ones in here as well. It's too bright. That's another thing I have to watch, is you don't want to go too bright. You don't want to use white too much. I have a bad habit of just going crazy with the white paint and the black. And it's good for certain things, but it can really detract, I think, from the painting if there's too much of that going on. Great. Looks good. Okay, now what else do we got to do here? I see that stick is like calling my name right here. Well, let's see here now. I think I better lighten up back in here a little because that trunk is hard to see. It's just, right now it's the same value as everything else around it. And then up in here there's some edges that are too harsh. I'm going to blend out some of those. I don't know if I did that. There we go. A couple of these little sky holes right against that trunk. And it just helps to define that shape a little better and pop it off the canvas here, like right in here. So there's also one up here. I think I'll put one in here. Just like that. Just the little things that help the overall picture. I'm just trying to create this illusion of the sun and how it's coming in through the canopy. It's kind of what caught my attention initially. Adding a little more, some blue tones in here. I'm finding it a bit overwhelming, the yellowish, yellow-green color that I've got on there right now. It's a little too crazy, too abrupt. So I'm just going to add a couple of hits of more of a bluish color of green. Add some blue to the mix. Help things along. A couple of branches here and there. And there's a branch coming down there. What color should that be there? I'll get to that one later. There's one here. I still haven't figured out what is going on here. So let's see if I can. And that's an important piece here of the composition. Is this in here? There's like this branch here. I haven't got it right yet. Not like I want to have it. Let's see here. I'm going to mix up like a dark brown color. See, with my oil paints, I'd have this color already pre-mixed and I would just dive into it right now. But with the acrylics, things dry so quickly, I've got to mix these little piles, use them up, and then within 5 minutes they're dry. Okay, now there's a line that goes that way. And then this one comes down. Let's see here. Up and down. And away. Okay, mister. We'll get it yet. We will get it yet. I'm running out of yellow. Looks a little better. branch work. Yeah, I was saying in my other video too that I did this new setup with the reference photo up here, and then this screen with me in it painting, and then the main window. I would like to have like a palette view like I had before, but I've only got 2 cameras, so I think eventually it'd be neat to have like, you know, a palette view in there as well, but we'll see what happens. I don't like being on camera, but I realize like the videos that I like to watch, I like to see the actual person painting. So I thought, oh, it's kind of selfish, or I don't know what it is, but kind of a bad reason to not put yourself on camera. There we go. I just loaded up some paint. Getting ready for the next round. What time is it here? 2:30. I don't know how much more I want to do. I think I'm going to put in some darks. It's kind of a back and forth game, painting, for me. You know, you put in the darks and lights at the starting, and then you paint over them all, which sometimes happens. And then it's like you gotta put them all back in at the end. I'm just gonna scramble things up quickly here and see if I can put some big shapes in. What color is that I just made? It's like a mauve color. And we got red. Too much red. I'm gonna have to dull that down with some blue. And then put some yellow in. And the one thing with this primary palette, it really shifts quickly between the 3 colors. And it's like you can really shift things suddenly on it. So the smallest amount of one color will shift it one way or another if you have it, you know, if you have too much of it in there or not enough of another one. So that's what I've been noticing as well with this kind of setup. Some nice purple colors in the trunk And then it's got the opposite of the color wheel, which is like the yellowy green color that's happening in it. It's a nice little vibration there. Yeah, the big brushes are nice for scrambling things up, you know, and just making it sketchy looking, and putting some life back into things. The more, you know, details you put in there, it just kind of kills the vibe of the whole painting. So sometimes you know, if things aren't working out and I can't figure out why, I'll just grab the big brush like this, and then just not think too much and just try to go along and quickly, like I'm squinting at the same time as well, but just kind of go along and quickly, just almost like you're fencing, or you know, you're just kind of randomly putting in marks where you think they should go, and that scrambles it enough that it puts in like a nice random quality to things again, and breaks them up again so they're not as tight. So I like to use my fingers too sometimes. I'll go in there and you know, scramble and blend. You probably saw me doing that if you saw some of my videos when I'm oil painting. I'll do the same kind of techniques. Because really you can't, you're never going to be able to paint in every single little stick and twig and leaf on a scene like this. Like, you can't, right? It's just, it's more about your interpretation of what you see, I think. And that's what makes each artist unique, is their unique interpretation of it, of what they're seeing. So I think that's something a little bit more important than trying to render every little detail that you can find, you know. It's easier said than done, though, because a lot of times you know these things, but practically getting to do that while you paint is sometimes tricky, because you get caught up in what you're doing and you forget. Yeah, so. Yeah, blending creates atmosphere, and it allows the viewer to, you know, be part of the painting and fill in those gaps that aren't explained by all the detail. So this scrambling things and making it, you know, kind of random, it actually helps the viewer, I think, the person that's looking at it. It helps to include them into painting. Because they're, you know, subconsciously, your brain, when you're looking at it, it assembles it again, and it, you know, it makes something that's random into an interpretation in your head. So it's interesting. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, if you guys have an idea, let me know what you think. You know, do you guys like paintings that are really tight and almost like photographic, where everything is explained in the painting, or do you like it when things are more random and kind of looser? Yeah, if you want to shoot me a comment in the comments there, be interesting to see what you guys think. Okay, I'm coming up to, I don't know if I'm done yet, but I'm getting close, I think. This big brush really helped tie things in, I think, at the end. I'm just kind of figuring out here how much to put in. Some rocks and things in there. Cool. What else can I see here? I see. Green. Just going to define some of the green flowers and things in the front. Too muddy. Oh yeah, I was going to fix up in here when it dried. Jeez, that was the wrong move. But that's okay, it created an interesting effect. Hmm. There we go. Oops. Let's see what we got here. Well, just tightening up things. I could go on like this for a long time. Just looking for sharp edges and blurry edges. I like to kind of find little points of areas where I can tighten them up a little, and then it kind of adds variety as well. The tight edges and the loose edges kind of work together they help each other and create a nice diverse scene visually. And I'm just going around and just figuring out these areas to finish off the painting. And this kind of thing is like everyone has their own preferences as to what constitutes a finished painting and when the painting's actually done. Because you can go forever like this and just pick away at it, and really there's no signal when the thing's done. It's one of the things a lot of people struggle with, I think, is deciding, okay, when is it done? Because you can suddenly ruin all this work that you put into a painting by continuing to paint it past the point where you should have stopped. So it's kind of a tricky thing, is to like look at it and say, I think that's good, and then walk away from it then. It's kind of a tricky don't know what I'm trying to say there, but it's tricky. Yeah, see, I'm just picking away at little marks here. That's not doing much overall. So I think I think I'm pretty close to being done. Pretty happy with it. I think I just want to add a few more things up at the top there to unify the right up in here somewhere. A couple of marks. There we go. Just trying to lead the eye around here. Cool. Turned out pretty good. You never know when you start what it's going to look like. You know, unless you draw it all in and plan everything. But, you know, even then, there's always I don't like that mark. There's always, like, you know, the unknown. What's going to happen? Yeah, I think what I'll do is, same as the other one there I did yesterday, I'm going to walk away, let it dry, come back, check it out again. And if it needs anything major, I'll just add it in there, but I don't think it will. I think a lot of times it's hard to figure out what it needs after you've been painting it for an hour or two here. So when you walk away and come back, usually it's pretty good, and you can just move on to the next one. Actually, this looks nice here. I'm going to add a few little highlights, and then I think I'll be done. Help to lead the eye down the scene here. Great. Okay. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so I think that is about it for me today for this little sketch. I'm going to call it there, and thank you guys for joining me here in my little studio today. And I had a good paint session again. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. So yeah, I'll probably make this one and the other ones available for anybody who just wants to buy one of these quick sketches, either on Facebook, like on my social media there, or on my website. But if you're interested, just shoot me a message. I'll try and take a better picture of it once it's dry, and then that way you can see it a little bit better. So yeah, thanks again for following, and hopefully we will catch up on the next one. So cheers, have a good one.